Well, it really is an interesting time, shall we say, as things start to reopen and more folks get vaccinated. Getting back out there may have you feeling all kinds of ways. Excited, a little anxious, definitely out of practice doing all the things we used to take for granted. So all this week on Sunrise, we're launching a special series called The New Normal. We're checking in with local psychologist and author Dr. Doreen Dodgen-Magee. She's really been our touchstone during the pandemic for navigating lots of big feelings. She first joined us last year, shortly after quarantine started, and we ask her back as we enter this new phase. Whether you're going back to the office, sending the kids back to school, or picking up the pieces after getting sick with COVID or losing a loved one to it, Dr. Doreen will help us understand what's at play so we can make a plan and be less owned by difficult emotions.
We expected that when the vaccine arrived and we would be able to kind of re-enter, that we would be nothing but excited. And in reality, we're finding that it's a lot more complex than that. We have lacked social practice. And if you partner this with the fact that social anxiety was on the rise prior to the pandemic, this creates kind of this weird, do I have what it takes to re-enter kind of a feeling. And I think it's also really hard right now to just trust that we are really in this re-entry mode. You know, what if it just goes back? And so there's this kind of push and pull I'm hearing from a lot of people. Have habituated to a slower pace. You know, they really felt like their lives were overfull and packed prior to the pandemic, and that this offered kind of some socially acceptable ways of dialing things back, of having a consistent family movie night or a consistent time of baking bread or of reading a paper book. And I think that that has had some really profound positive impacts on kind of the pace at which we move and our psychological ability to keep up.
Places, of course, are reopening. People are getting vaccinated. They're getting out there again, and that's exciting. It's also a little nerve-wracking. But if COVID has touched you personally or you've lost somebody to the virus, moving forward presents its own set of challenges. We're talking about that with local psychologist and author Dr. Doreen Dodgen-Magee. She is going to be with us all week long, unpacking a variety of issues as we navigate this new chapter of the pandemic. But specifically when it comes to grief, she says it's a bumpy road, especially when folks have to face others who wrongly claim the virus isn't real. Even well-meaning friends and family who trust the science can overstep and pry.
So one of the most consistent things you'll hear when you talk with survivors of COVID or those who have lost loved ones to it is that people ask questions about their deaths or their illnesses that no one would ever ask in other situations. So one of the first questions is, well, they had pre-existing conditions, right? Or, well, they were overweight, or, well, they were older, right? And so these people feel not only a huge sense of grief, but also kind of an odd sense of having been questioned in ways that are painful.
Dr. Doreen says if you've experienced that, have a standard response ready and be transparent. Say something like, I've been personally impacted by COVID, so this conversation is difficult for me. And what's more, she says find safe, healthy places to talk. Reach out to a therapist or a faith leader or a support group like COVID Survivors for Change.